11-year Browns veteran confirms stance on best QB for Cleveland as Shedeur Sanders receives new update. With OTAs underway, all eyes continue to flick towards the ongoing battle between the QBs in the Browns locker room. There's a four-way clash between Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dillon Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders. There's also the added component of Deshaun Watson dropping subtle hints at a recovery that's adding steam to the situation. But out of all of this talent pool, the question for QB1 is still up in the air. Many believe Joe Flacco to be the clear starter with his veteran experience. Kenny Pickett's chances are also floating as the QB1. And with HC Kevin Stefanskis still far away from making a decision, the question is also being circulated to the players in hopes of a clear answer. And now, a Browns veteran might have confirmed who it's going to be. As far as Coach Stefanski is concerned, the role of Kenny Pickett seems almost confirmed. He had recently confirmed he's impressed with Pickett. I'm really excited about what Kenny brings to the team. He's a guy that works extremely hard at his craft. I love the way he thinks about the game. But then there is the veteran Joe Flacco, who has also made it clear he wants to play and win games. He even refused the role of mentorship in a recent presser and doubled down on his intentions. I tend to try to be honest. And I've said, I'm not a mentor. I play football. So, who's it going to be in the end? Veteran Browns guard Joel Bitonio, for one, has shared his thoughts on the matter. During the Cleveland Browns Foundation Golf Tournament on Monday, Joel Bitonio and Kevin Stefanski spoke with reporters. Notably, Joel Bitonio was asked, "How important to you is it that the team choose the best quarterback to win this season rather than to assess their future?" His response, "We want the best guy to compete, and, you understand that the team has a duty for future years. But I think going into the season, we're going to put the best guys out there, and we're going to try and win as many games as we can." While he didn't name drop anyone, the best guys right now are clearly Flacco and Pickett. So it looks like it could be one of these two. And Dillon and Sanders will be developing under them as future prospects. But a lot can happen between now and September. Joel Bitonio, in the interview, further noted that the competition going forward in the AFC will be hard. And he doubled down on the best guy again. "We know the AFC's tough, but I think we have faith that we're going to put the best guy out there." Incidentally, Bitonio also talked about Kenny Pickett and said, "He's just a guy that wants his chance and he's hungry to prove that he can play in this league." So could that be another hint moving forward? Kevin Stefanski is keeping his card close and checking all the boxes before he can make a clear decision. He has already said, "There's a lot of time between now and September, so we'll have a plan." But it's an all-encompassing evaluation. But rookie QBs Gabriel and Sanders aren't waiting by the sidelines watching the pros compete against each other. Shedeur Sanders has reportedly already become a locker room favorite. Dillon Gabriel is also enjoying his time with the Browns. I love it. It's competition. It's making us all better. And with the competition heating up, there's another update with the rookies that's raising eyebrows around the league. Shedeur Sanders notably didn't take any reps during the open OTAs last week. Naturally, people around the league were curious, but Kevin Stefanski had already clarified his stance on this during the minicamps. Back then, he had said, "I wouldn't look into anything. We don't pay too close attention to who's in that first snap." So when asked about it now, he doubled down on his earlier stance and clarified that Shedeur has gotten his fair share of practice away from the cameras. Yes, he has, and I would say there's a lot of work that gets done when you guys aren't out there, believe it or not. But that's even in a meeting or in a walkthrough. Our guys are getting exposed to a lot. Most of the 11-on-11 reps during practice have reportedly gone to Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco. That further solidifies their role as potential QB1s going forward. But as Gabriel and Sanders continue to get reps and gather experience, they're clearly not out of the picture yet. Either of the rookies could rise up to be one of the best guys on the roster. And it might just be one of them calling shots under center. The focus right now is for the rookies to learn the playbook and put it into practice on the field. Additionally, Kevin Stefanski has another clear goal in mind. Going through the OTAs, Kevin Stefanski has made one thing very clear. As the head coach put it, "I think that off-season program, you're really building a foundation, and that's for the players. You're building a foundational understanding of scheme. We want to make sure that we have an identity that's unique to us. So a lot of that is building that foundation now, so that when you get to training camp, you can build upon that." So, once the dust settles and the Browns have all settled into their roles, Kevin Stefanski will finally make the call for QB1. When that time comes, who do you think it'll be? Kevin Stefanski announces immediate next step for Shedeur Sanders as Joe Flacco creates QB room confusion. The Browns kicked off their OTAs last week, but it started with a stat that had Browns fans buzzing. Shedeur Sanders went 7-4-9 with 3 touchdowns. Social media lit up, with some claiming him to be the next big thing, and even Coach Prime gave a huge shout-out to his kid. But as the excitement grew, analysts were quick to put the brakes on. They pointed out that these numbers came from 7-on-7 drills. No pass rush, no linemen, just a controlled environment designed for quarterbacks to shine. League background, league logo, State Farm assists. The real test, they said, would come in the 11-on-11 sessions. But the plot thickened. Sanders had a better performance than veterans Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett, who participated in the 11-on-11 sessions. Folks out there argued about his standing on the QB depth chart and whether the Browns were genuinely committed to developing him as their future quarterback. Turns out they are. And the head coach, Kevin Stefanski, just confirmed it. But before we jump directly to that, let's clarify one thing. Shedeur Sanders participating in 7-on-7 drills was behind closed doors, where the media wasn't allowed. And that's where things get particularly interesting. On Monday, during the Browns Foundation's 25th annual golf tournament at Westwood Country Club, Stefanski revealed that Shedeur indeed participated in the 11-on-11 sessions. Besides, he also confirmed that the former Colorado QB will also participate in the real test this week. Yes, and I would say there's a lot of work that gets done when you guys aren't out there, believe it or not. The HC said when one of the reporters asked if the 5th-round pick got 11-on-11 sessions when they weren't around. But that's even in a meeting or in a walkthrough. Our guys are getting exposed to a lot. The 4 quarterbacks in the Browns building are in an open battle to establish themselves as the QB1. While Shedeur was reportedly participating in 7-on-7 drills, 11-on-11 as well, the rookie QB, Dillon Gabriel, managed to take a handful of snaps in the 11-on-11 portion of practice. But let's face it, even though the head coach reiterated that they're rotating the QB reps, it's pretty much certain that most of the reps went to Flacco and Pickett. Although it's still early to predict, Flacco and Pickett are the frontrunners for the QB1 role. But if Shedeur Sanders manages to make the most out of the practice sessions in the coming weeks, he'll certainly find himself rising in the depth chart. But it appears that a few people are still confused about Flacco's role in Cleveland. And yes, we're talking about his QB1 role. Loud and clear. What is Joe Flacco doing in Cleveland? At this point, the Browns' quarterback room appears to be this. Joe Flacco as the QB1, followed by Pickett, then Sanders, and finally Gabriel. And that would be too distant. But let's get back to the bigger picture. Flacco has experience, no doubt. He can mentor the young guys. He can win you a Super Bowl, of course, but he isn't your longtime guy. And that's where Jay Croucher and Drew Dinsick of the Bet the Edge podcast come in. See, Dinsick believes that the Browns with Pickett and Sanders are in the same situation as the Vikings were with Sam Darnold and J.J. McCarthy last season. They used Darnold as QB1 to develop McCarthy as their starting QB. Cut to the Browns' QB room. Pickett could play the same role for Cleveland while Shedeur Sanders could develop behind him. At least that's what Dinsick believes. But amidst this, where does Flacco fit? That's the tricky part. The real issue for me is what is Flacco doing there? Dinsick said when asked about how he feels about the Browns' QB situation. If Flacco wasn't a part of the picture, then all of a sudden, it looks very obvious. Like you've Sam Darnold placeholder while you develop some future quarterback, right? Like, it's the Vikings kind of playbook from last year. But Flacco in the mix, there's really like no upside here for any of these. Translation? Well, Dinsick believes that if Flacco wasn't in the mix there, the QB situation was very obvious. What's that, you ask? Kenny Pickett is the QB1, followed by Shedeur Sanders, and then Dillon Gabriel. Plain and simple. Having said that, Dinsick guessed that the Browns will name Pickett as their QB1. How true will that be? The odds are lower. And it's going to be a questionable call. Flacco or Pickett? We'll see how that works out.